Hi, welcome to Adobe Live. Thank you so much for tuning in today. If we haven't met yet, I am Jordan Danae Ellis, Community Manager for Adobe Express, and I'm so excited to be here with my coworker, Tuyen. Hi, Twin. How are you?
Hi, Jordan. I'm doing good. How are you?
Good. We talk a lot in this series about small business owners and brands who are trying to level up their online marketing. And short form video comes up a lot because if anyone is paying attention to social media or our videos, that is like the thing that every algorithm is into right now. It feels like every single social platform is like highlighting the importance of video, which is incredibly intimidating to some people, including me. So I'm very excited to have Twin here today because I would say I've made like 6 reels total in my life, and you have, just a little over 500,000 followers on TikTok. So I'm very excited to get some of your expertise here today. And also just to not be intimidating to anyone watching, if you're on my side of things, we'll have tips and tricks for everyone, no matter how experienced you are in video. But yeah, Twin, if you don't mind introducing yourself, what you do at Adobe and what you do on the side, which is what you make all these videos for.
Yeah, so I guess for full time and like what I do with like my real big girl job, I work at growth marketing at Adobe on the community team. So I kind of run a lot of different things. I'm on a lot of different campaigns, especially on YouTube and across socials. And I also work with a community team to kind of elevate our customers' experiences and how to kind of showcase Adobe Express to them. But on the side with TikTok and like video, I started making videos in quarantine. And initially it was just something that I did for fun. I never intended to like kind of go big with it because I was just purely out of boredom. But over time, it kind of blew up, and I was able to kind of build I guess, side career with it, where I was able to work with like so many different brands and have sponsorships. And so, yeah, I think it's been about 2.5 years since I started my TikTok, and yeah, I'm very grateful for it.
Yeah, this is incredible. And it's kind of fun too. This is not your full-time job at all.
Yeah.
This is totally on the side. And so I guess just first question, because for a lot of people, video is so intimidating, like what made you start a TikTok, or what made you start making videos? Were you always into making videos, or how did that happen for you?
I think I'm a very innately like creative individual. So I think that helped with like spearheading like, oh yeah, like I should make a TikTok because it was also in quarantine. So I was also bored and it gave me another excuse. So that was like the real reason why I decided to start making videos. I've always been into baking, and whenever I was like feeling down or sad, I was just always baking. So I was like, oh, you know what? Might as well like film it and see like where it goes. So that's initially how I started. And then I think the momentum that kept me going was just like seeing such a positive response. So I think definitely like the first step is always the scariest in deciding to start. But I mean, you know, what's the harm in just trying to start and like seeing where it goes? So yeah.
Yeah. So did you intend for this to be as big as it is? Like, I guess what were your goals? Was it just for fun? Did you wanna like, I feel like everyone always kind of wants to see how big something can get. So maybe that's a silly question, but yeah, like what was your intention?
I think definitely my intention in the beginning wasn't to go big or to go viral or anything like that. It was purely like out of boredom and seeing like being inspired by other people on my For You page, like create videos. And in my head, I was like, oh, I can create like the same vibe or like something similar to that. So like, why not try? But I think as I gained more traction, then it started to click in my head like, oh, maybe like I could make something bigger out of this. So I think it wasn't until like eventually down the line that I was like, you know what, like let's play around with this and see where it can go. But I can also, I feel like ask you for the same because I know like you have your own small business. So kind of like what inspired that? Because we're like on very different ends of the spectrum. Like I'm very much more like online, but you're like very like in real life.
Yeah, so this is something that I love. I mean, I love talking to other people about what they're doing. I love that this is just for fun because I think that's equally valid, like whether you're trying to make money off it or not. I think this is really cool.
Yeah.
And then for anyone who doesn't know, I also run a side business. I guess I'll go into my reels too. You can see the the vast difference in like these 4 I made last week, and then everything below that is either like what's it called, collaborated content where someone else made it with me, or literally like gifts that just became reels because that's how Instagram works now. But my business has always been a business. Like it wasn't just for fun. It started as an Etsy shop, which is an amazing thing 12 years ago, and now it's like a full-blown store where I go to events and do things. So for me, I don't love making video. I don't hate it, and I'm getting much more comfortable with it. But if the algorithm changed and no one ever had to make videos again, that would be totally cool. But I think that's like one of the fun things about having a brand or a business is you have to evolve as like the world evolves around you. I mean, I guess you don't have to, but that is one of the perks and challenges, is that changing to go along with what the world is doing is really valuable.
100%.
So actually, this is great. We can talk about the differences in our videos, because I am not a pro. And like I say pro as in, I mean, I guess there are absolutely professional videographers out there. I don't think that's what anyone's expectation is if you're doing it for social media. But it is very intimidating to me. So I kind of tried to pick the easiest things that I thought would be the least intimidating, which is so funny saying as I'm on Adobe Live, like doing live video. But for some reason, some things are scarier to me, and recorded video is, I don't know why, it's so intimidating.
Yeah, I think that's definitely valid.
Yeah. So first, for anyone who's in my camp, I'll give my tips and tricks, and then we'll go back to Twins and she can give her tips and tricks, and then we'll demo a couple of things that you can do in Express that are fun and easy. So this one is something I did over the past weekend that is like, I do not know why I haven't done this before. This is just a tripod with time lapse. So I was setting up a Comic-Con booth, but like this was the easiest video I've ever made in my life, because I had to do this anyway, like I was already doing the thing, and it's so fun and cool to see. And I feel like that for anyone watching who does business, business things where you're making something or setting something up or doing an event, or I don't know, I feel like there are unlimited things that take hours that you can squeeze into 30 seconds.
Yeah, anything and everything can be content if you really think about it. Like anything and everything.
Yeah. And for me, especially as a business owner, and I imagine some people in the chat can relate. Also, yes, anyone who has questions, especially for Twin, please feel free to ask them in the chat. Hello to Sean and Bruce and Jefferson and Ryan. So happy that you're here. Yeah, please feel free to ask our video expert. But I really love doing, the work smarter, not harder is like not a new concept, but it really is one of the things that like I love doing things for marketing that I'm already doing. Like it took 2 extra minutes to set up a tripod, and then like another few minutes to make this post, and I was doing all the work anyway. So that is like, I think one of the easiest things that I'm kicking myself for not doing sooner.
Yeah, I think people, especially if you run a business or anything, like people on the internet are always interested in like the back, like behind the scenes type of vibe. Like, so especially if you have something like this, I feel like people would always be intrigued, like, oh yeah, like how do you know what to set up, and like how do you do this and how do you do that? Like it's not even just like, oh yeah, like they're interested in the products you're selling, they're interested in like how you kind of got it started.
Yeah, and like I said, you're doing the behind the scenes anyway. Like you're doing whatever you're doing to run your business anyway. This is like, I'm also gonna out myself. I know that especially on TikTok, there are lots of trends with like cool transitions, and it sounds like that's one of the harder things. I just straight up skip that. Like that is an amount of energy that I don't have yet.
Yeah.
So this was like another really easy thing maybe that I did, which was just outfits every day of the event that I did with our coworker Mallory.
So cute.
You know, so like we were getting dressed anyway. We planned our outfits for this series anyway, or for this weekend. So
Might as well.
Yeah, taking things you're already doing. And like I said, this is not fancy transitions. Like I didn't even hold the camera straight there, but that's just kind of, I feel like, part of the fun of it. So yeah, anyway, I know like fashion videos, especially for certain industries, are very popular right now. And if you aren't going to go all in to figure out, like, there are some amazing transitions of like moving your body a certain way and putting on like a piece of clothing a certain way. And I think that's incredible. And also, you don't have to if that's not the level that you're at.
Yeah.
And then I'll share my last trick, and then we can go back to yours. But I didn't realize that when you take a live photo on, especially on iPhone, but I think on Androids too, the live photo is like a 2-second video, which can make a really cute slideshow. If you didn't take any video like this, I made a reel that was like a recap, and some of it was video like this is, but then a lot of
so cute.
Yeah, this was like a recap of the event, and it's a combination of some videos I took and then photos that are just live photos. So they animate. So if you like don't remember to take video and you want to do a little slideshow, like some of them are video anyway.
Yeah, that's such a good trick.
I was so thankful. Like everything I do is a trick that makes it easier because like that's the level that I'm at. So to show a version of ways that you can make video that are like relatively easy. Like I'm going to be honest, putting these together and then also picking the music and then also figuring all of that out, like that still does take me kind of a while all in. But none of these were like, I didn't set up a studio. I didn't do anything extra. I didn't like set up. I didn't, script anything.
Yeah.
So that's okay. That's one level. And now I want to go to like the pro level. Which one do you have a favorite that I should click into to kind of talk about the process of how you set up?
Maybe you can scroll down a little bit, and then maybe like the almond milk one is a fine one, and then the Biscoff coffee one is also fine.
I'll do that because I see it first. This one, right?
Yeah. So I feel like for mine, or at least like the type of videos that I make, it's not really so much like on the go like Jordan's. So it has to be like a little bit more methodical. Like I had to plan it out, like I had to buy certain things, certain ingredients. But I think the important part of video is just like getting inspiration from like trying anything and everything. And so I literally was inspired because I was on the airplane, like from Delta flying somewhere to somewhere. And they gave us like Biscoff cookies. And literally that's what inspired this video. And
it's amazing. Also, they're so good.
Yeah, that's why. And I was like, oh, you know what? I feel like this in a latte would be really good. Yeah, so I think for the type of videos I create, it's a bit more rigid in the sense where like I have to film during a certain hour, like golden period, and then I have to set it up so it looks aesthetically pleasing. But on like Jordan's videos, on the other hand, like they're much more like raw. They're like more fun in the sense where it's like, oh yeah, like I'm going to take you on this journey. So I think it depends on like knowing what types of videos you want to create so you can plan it out. But either way, I feel like no matter what, trying your best to capture like anything is like very good for content. Like even if it's like not the best, even if you messed up, people still appreciate the behind the scenes, like the authenticity of it. Even if like if I spilled something here, like I feel like that's something people would still want to watch. So yeah.
I think you did a video near the top right of like this is your behind the scenes.
Oh yeah. And this was like me like hopping on a trend. So yeah, and I think that's another thing that you mentioned earlier, Jordan, where you're like, oh yeah, I'm not really with the like creating trends and all that.
We should talk about this because we are on opposite ends of trends where I'm scared of them. And so I'll like see what the trend is and make sure I'm not doing anything like too close to it, or that's like as
Wrong.
the young people say, too cringe. but so that is one path to take. I'm not necessarily saying it's like the best for algorithms. It's actually probably the opposite of that. But then there is the way to follow trends and like line up what you're doing to that. So as someone who does that successfully, can you talk a little bit about like how you find them and how to follow a trend and like how to take something that is popular on a platform and like put it into your brand? Because your brand is a very cohesive. So like everything that, even though not all the videos are the same, everything looks like it goes together.
Yeah. I think for that, you'd have to be online, unfortunately, because like I know like TikTok especially can take up so much time, and like, you know, like I don't want to spend hours on TikTok, but I think that definitely is one of the most pivotal ways to kind of like understand your audience and understand like, oh, what people are interested in this week. And so I think being online does have a lot, like a big factor into like knowing, oh yeah, like what's trending, what's happening. And I think on the sidelines, I also kind of like am aware of like what's coming up next. Like if fall is like the next month or something, like let's say now, you know, next month, September, that's when people are going to start, you know, bringing out pumpkin spice lattes and like kind of all of that. So you have to start mentally preparing like, okay, like maybe I should keep in mind like videos that I want to make coming up. Or you can be a little bit more strategic about it, where I search up like Google Trends, like, oh yeah, like what is trending recently? Like, for example, if I wanted to make kind of like a horoscope latte, right? Like, oh yeah, like what's the next, like how trending is it for me to like make it? And so I think it's just kind of like following the trends and also creating something that is you would enjoy yourself. Because I feel like if people like constantly make all of their video and their content 100% about trends, then you're relying more on like virality rather than like creating like quality content. And I do like hop on trends like every once in a while, but I feel like if I were to make that like my whole entire brand, it wouldn't resonate as much. I don't know how you feel about it, but I feel like there's like a fine line to like, oh yeah, like this is like a good amount versus like, oh yeah, I'm like doing too much.
Yeah, I think I totally agree with that. I'm not a branding expert by any means, but when you have a brand, you want it to be cohesive no matter what. So I think following a trend that works with your brand, or like having an established idea of what you're doing, then you can like sneak trends in. But I agree, if you're just, unless that is your brand, like hopping on trends, then like that's cool. You can. But I totally agree. I mean, I guess at the end of the day though, it all depends on what your goals are. So like you and I both, whether it's for a side business or just for fun, we both want to have like a brand or an identity that is cohesive. But if you're doing it literally just for fun and the thing that you think is great is hopping on trends, like go ahead.
Oh yeah.
I think probably a lot of people watching have some sort of business or have some sort of larger goal.
Yeah.
So I think one of the most important things is just always keeping that in mind. Like do whatever makes sense for the goal that you have. So if your goal is to try to get as many followers or to like try to be as, you know, current as possible, then that's one thing. And for me personally, like I don't, my niche is very niche. It's like nerdy pop culture comic booky. So for me, following a trend can be like following the new shows that are coming out. So like for example, this is actually a great overlap. Adobe Express and I think Photoshop just did some Ring of Power templates for the Lord of the Rings show that's coming out. So like that is a perfect intersection of everything that I love, where it's Lord of the Rings and also, you know, nerdy, and also the app that I use all the time. But it would be pretty disingenuous. Like we were we were talking yesterday, I was marveling at your account. One of your most popular videos,
I think it's
did I pass it?
Yes, you did.
Is these, right?
The one on the left.
So this is a perfect video for you, and this would make no sense for me to post. So, you know, there are things that are like following your own audience. But like, this is obviously something that everyone who follows you is super into, with like 34 million views or some wild thing like that, which is incredible. And I think this is a really good example of finding something that this perfectly fits in your feed so much that I didn't even, like, I scrolled past it because it just blends right in, which is great.
I think it's about curating content that fits within like your brand or like your online presence, for example, you know. So it's not always about like 100% following like every single trend that pops up, but it's more of asking the question like, oh, how can I make this relevant to me and my brand? So for example, I don't know if you're on TikTok too much, but there's this trend going on with this like kid who like loves corn, and like he's obsessed with corn, right? Okay. And it's like viral right now. And so I was like, oh, what could I make with like corn? Because it wouldn't make sense for me like to do anything else with corn. So a few weeks back, I was in Vietnam and they had corn milk. So I was like, you know what? Like, I'll make a video about corn milk. And then like that in itself is like not inherently like too much like, oh yeah, like me feeding into the trend of like, oh yeah, just following it blindly, but like catering it to like how I create content. So it's like getting inspiration from like a lot of things. So yeah, that's an example.
Yeah, I love that. Just gonna ask you something else. Oh, so we did talk about how my videos are much less produced, and yours are obviously like very well set. Can you talk a little bit about the actual setup that you have? And actually, really quickly, someone in the chat, Neil, is talking about Adobe Rush. Terry asked if we edit videos within Adobe Express. So I personally use Adobe Rush. There is Premiere. I tried to use it once. I will probably learn it someday. I then found out there was like the easy version in Rush, which was great. Yeah. And the thing I love about it is it syncs between desktop and mobile. So like there were times where I did part of a video, you know, on my phone and then finished it up on my computer, or vice versa. And I'll say the learning curve, at least for me with Rush, was pretty like, I mean, you saw the types of videos I'm making. I literally was like cutting videos together. Yeah. So I recommend checking that out. If you're interested in editing videos, and we'll show how to make a few things in Adobe Express too. Yeah. But yes, so your setup, what equipment do you have? Is this all on your phone? Do you use a camera?
Yeah, so everything was on my phone. And like the funny thing is, when I first started, everything was on an iPhone 8. And by the time, like, I'm pretty sure like the iPhone 12 had already like come out. And so I think the first thing to realize is like, you don't always have to have like the best equipment, especially when you first start out. Like, don't invest like thousands of dollars into something if you don't know like, oh yeah, like, oh, am I gonna be passionate about this maybe like a year down the line? So yeah, I started out with an iPhone 8 in the beginning, and that is what got me to like maybe 100,000, 200,000 followers. And now I'm still using an iPhone. Like I use the iPhone 12 now. And so that's mostly it for camera. For ASMR and stuff like that, I just bought a microphone, which is these headphones. So I think that might be a good investment. But before that, like I didn't have a microphone or anything. And I filmed everything on my desk.
And also these headphones are like things that lots of people just have with their phones, or are not very expensive.
Yeah. So yeah, you don't have to go out and spend like a ton of money. Be like resourceful in the beginning, I feel like is like also really important. Yeah. And then I film everything on my desk. Actually, I don't have a very nice kitchen.
Listen, that's such a good trick. I mean, just as a pro tip, if you are zooming in, you cannot tell. So like, feel free to, you know, like this is a really good, I just assumed this was a gorgeous kitchen. So
yeah, I think that's what a lot of my followers also said too, where they're like, oh, can you give us a kitchen tour? I'm like, girl, I can't.
I sure can't.
This is my bedroom.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Well, it looks great. So pro
Thank
tip for everyone.
Yeah. And then I also have a tripod and a kind of like just a tripod so I can have like the right angles that I want. And then I also have like a wooden plank, like a white wooden plank, so that I use to
Oh,
bounce
smart.
sunlight off. So it's just like a little bit brighter, but nothing like too fancy. Like I promise you my setup is like it's like super like funny if you see it in real life because it's literally on a desk in my bedroom and I'm just filming. So yeah.
I mean, that I think is one of my favorite things about how much you can do like really resourcefully. So yeah, this is, I mean, thinking about it, so an iPhone like is a cost, or a phone is a cost, but like most of us kind of just do that anyway. Headphones are not expensive. Tripods, I think the one I have was like maybe $15. Like it's,
you can find
this
really
big.
like
Yeah.
like nice tripods like on Amazon or something. Like you don't have to drop hundreds of dollars on it.
Yeah, and then I've seen people use poster board as like a white reflector, or
I literally used that in the beginning. Like the $2, $3 ones that you can get from Target.
Yeah. So I think that's just a great thing to think about. And you made this point earlier. When you're just getting started, don't spend all of your money doing something that you're not even sure if you want to keep doing. So like I think it's a really, really good call to be very resourceful. And I mean, it worked. Like your videos early on when you just had those, few tools and an old iPhone. I think I think
it's kind of like a lot about the vision that you see in your head and like how well you execute it and how resourceful you can be. You don't have to like spend money on like a bunch of equipment. And even now, like I still am filming from my iPhone. I don't have anything like super fancy. So
yeah. And the chat is talking about editing and how Premiere is a little bit too much for a quick video for some people, but they're great tools. And yeah, if anyone in the chat has questions, especially for Tuyen, please feel free to ask. Yeah. I have another question for you, which is, how do you balance making content? Oh, well, I guess first question, how long does making a video like this normally make you? Because I will fully admit, when I was like trying to find the balance of when I was making my first reel, like one, it was figuring out how to do it. And I did a lot of, I think the first one I did straight in Instagram. So it was like, first of all, trying to navigate that interface. And then also, I don't know if this is relatable to anyone watching, but I always like, I'm so scared I'm going to do something embarrassing that I was like, okay, let me just like make sure I don't accidentally push anything live or like do anything crazy. So the first time I made a reel and found the music for it, I think it took me like 2.5 hours, like way too long. It obviously gets
I feel
sooner.
like honestly, no, like that makes sense. I think we always have this idea where it's like, oh my God, like this should have taken like 20 minutes. But in reality, like if you want to make like quality content and like you want to be very thoughtful in your decisions, honestly, like that's fine. Especially when you were just trying to learn like how to use the interface of like reels too. That's fine.
We have a great question. Oh, so Terry's also saying you can get a clip-on holder for your phone for video. And I've seen like a lot of really, really cool ways to use your phone. Like there are like little things you can stick on the back of your phone so you can like stick it to something. I've seen tripods that are like credit card size that you can, then unfold.
I even put my phone into a mug a couple times. Like I swear, like some of these videos I've put my phone into a mug to get the right angle. So it's
to just like have it. I think that's be as intuitive or as inventive as you need to be to get the angle. And then Javier is asking, what is your strategy when coming up with content? I feel like we can both answer this in totally different ways.
I think I go about it in 2 different ways. One is like being very strategic about it, like I mentioned earlier, where, like what's happening with trends, like what is upcoming, what are people interested in now, and doing that. And usually you can find that just simply through scrolling on TikTok or like Instagram or Pinterest. And so that's like a more like methodical, like strategic approach. But the other one is I think I get very lucky in the sense where I get inspired very easily. So if I were to walk around like Target, for example, and I see something, I'm like, oh, I can make a video about this. And I think something that I didn't realize until like maybe later on is like, if you have an idea, you should try your best to like act on it as soon as you can. Because in that moment, you're still like very inspired and you're still very creative. But if you put your ideas and all that like on a shelf, like it diminishes like over time. So I think that is like my two like, you know, kind of tips in creating content and like how to be strategic and like how like I go about it.
Yeah, I think that's great. Mine is a little bit more, what is, you know, what is my goal? So like for this business, the goal is selling merch. So I try to do for content is trying to come up with like what are ideas that showcase what I'm trying to sell, because at the end of the day, either showing off the brand or like showing off the product is the thing. So I try to make content that highlights either customers wearing my products or highlights the behind the scenes of the business. So for me, because of, which will lead into the next question I wanted to ask you, because we're all very busy, like I try not to make things unless it serves the goal of what I'm trying to do, which is like for my business, it's making sales.
Yeah.
Which leads into the last question I'll ask you before we head into Adobe Express to demo a few things. How do you personally strike the balance between, like, you just finished school kind of recently,
Yeah.
you had an internship at Adobe and now are working here, and also keeping up with this?
Yeah.
How do you balance
I feel
keeping
like
this going?
I feel like it would be a lie if I was like, oh yeah, like I'm doing everything like perfectly. I'm not stressed all the time, because of like reality is like I am between just like
Yeah.
working like full time and then doing this on the side. But I think being very organized and like punctual is super, super important, because if I'm not organized or if I don't write something down, I'm gonna go crazy. Like I would just be like, oh, what am I supposed to do today? And then yeah, I feel like organization is definitely like the biggest thing, like being on top of your stuff, like writing down, I'm like, oh yeah, from this time to this time, I'm gonna film, or from this time to this time, I'm gonna edit or, you know, work or whatever. And so I think more than anything, it's like kind of like the motivation that you have. Like you want to do your best, and or at least I want to do my best in both like my day job and my side job. And so yeah, kind of like just being on top of my game and taking time out to like invest time into like both projects is like important. Yeah. But I don't know if I'm doing a good job in the sense where it's like, oh yeah, am I not stressed all the time? No, I am stressed, but we'll see how long that goes on for.
I mean, and the one thing I would add to that is I take breaks when I need to. And I think that's totally fine. Like we talked about this a little bit prepping for this video, is like,
Yeah.
the algorithm is real. And so when you do things that the social media algorithms don't like, you know, that isn't great for you when you try to come back. And also taking care of yourself is the most important. So like, even if I need to take a break and then maybe it takes a little longer to like have my posts be seen as often as they were before, like there definitely is a benefit to being consistent. I feel like that's like number one of marketing or social media, but also take care of yourself. So like if you need to take a break, that is
100%.
completely fine.
Yeah. I literally took like so many breaks on my TikTok, but you know what? Sometimes you just have to do it.
Sometimes you have to, and guess what? It's fine. You still have, you know, almost 600,000 followers. So it's not like everyone bailed on you because you took a minute to focus on graduation or like your job.
Yeah.
Your fans will still be there. Your followers will still be there. And so whatever you need to do, I think is really important. One more question. Sorry. Andrew is asking if you also post on YouTube, which I think is an important thing to call out. Like we're looking at your TikTok and my Instagram, which I would say are each of our like main platforms. But
if you can go on if you go on Instagram and then you search up Life with Twin, I also post on there. So I don't have YouTube because I was thinking about it, but I haven't gotten into it. But my two main platforms are Instagram and TikTok. And I think this is something that me and Jordan talked about yesterday that's important, is to kind of like use your content across different platforms, like, and spread it out. And I also have a Pinterest where I post videos on there. And so if you're spending like hours on one video, why not make the most out of it and post it on like different platforms?
Yeah, and it's just fun to see how two different platforms look different. And I think like, do you make slightly different covers for?
Yes, they're slightly different, and then I go a little bit more in depth with my Instagram videos. So if you go on any of the Instagram videos, it'll probably have a longer description and like me detailing out like what to do and all that. But on TikTok, it's a very like short, like this is how I do it. But I always incentivize like my followers or anybody watching like to like, like if you want like the recipe, go on my Instagram. But
I think that's a great way to talk about the differentiation. Like I imagine, I mean, anytime you copy, like straight up copy paste tends to not be great. So like, I think this is a really great tip for catering to the platform without totally starting from scratch. So like you already made the video, you can make a different cover, which we'll go into, and you can like customize, the caption, or I'm sure on Pinterest, the caption isn't super long because that's like just thinking about what works best for the platform, I think is a great call. So please keep asking questions in the chat if you have them. We're going to go over to Adobe Express because this is one of my favorite tricks that I've learned recently. We have an animated text option here, which is like, we just showed video with, real people in real time moving. And if that is a little too intimidating for you, I learned a trick of something you can do in Adobe Express to like animate the cute graphic that you're making, and it still totally counts. It still totally works. Like I think I think the level of, I mean, like anything, I think the greater effort like equals the greater reward. But if someone is like, look, I just need to post a reel on Instagram so that, the Instagram gods don't hate me, I have one of my favorite tricks.
And it registers as a video, so why not?
Yeah, which is brand new, and that is also very funny. I didn't realize that. So I like I said, I'm not an expert at reels. I think I've made like 6. And then when they made the change, any video like boomerangs that I posted in like 2012 were showing up in my reels. I was like, oh gosh, I need to check out what's still there. Teresa asks, are you posting manually on each platform, or do you do it via an app or tool? Just real quick, I post my reels manually, and then I post things like I'm about to make through a scheduler, which we will show off now. But while I'm searching, go ahead and you answer.
So I know scheduler like is super useful with like posting and scheduling content, but the reason why I haven't been using it is I haven't been posting. Like I've actually been taking a break, like we mentioned earlier. So I've been on a hiatus, and I think I haven't posted in maybe like 2 months. So I haven't used scheduler yet, but when I do go back, like I probably will, just because it can go to like Pinterest, which is super easy and nice, and also Instagram. But for the most part, in the past, yes, I did post everything manually, and I try to be methodical about it in the sense where there's a lot of analytics on both platforms, or wherever you choose to post, like whether that's on YouTube, LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, where it shows you when your followers are the most active. So if you do decide to like use like a scheduler, like in Adobe Express, you can schedule it to like 6 p.m. or like whenever your followers are most active. So
while I'm first I'll explain what we're doing, and then I want to ask you a question about analytics because if anyone watches the videos with Andy, I am the queen of never looking at analytics, which I do not recommend at all. And so anytime someone actually does, I love to ask about that.
It's okay. You're doing fine still. So you're doing at least something right, you know?
I mean, I think that's the thing. I always say like, I like gut feel my analytics, which is the opposite of, I mean, that is literally not what it
You're
means.
going off the vibes.
But yeah, I'm like, okay, I just know the types of posts. Like I just, you know, I know the ones that are get more interactions. However, it's a really great idea to actually look at things. But yeah, please keep asking questions. What I'm going to do, because I promote a podcast also, I'm going to use one of my favorite templates that I just saw and show off a way to animate it. But while I'm kind of doing that, I mean, I don't need to narrate what I'm doing. I'm just going to change a few things. I feel like most folks watching know how the fundamentals of Adobe Express works. But if anyone has any questions, feel free to ask. But while I'm doing this, I want to ask you, about your analytics. Like what do you look at? Where do you look at them? I have lots of questions.
So let me go into Instagram right now specifically. So for Instagram, whenever you go on your own profile, there's that professional dashboard. You should set your account on Instagram to be a business account or like a creator account. So you're able to kind of go and see these analytics. And what you're able to see is like how many, like different accounts have you reached within the past like X amount of days. Like let's say like 30 days, it says I've reached 107,000 accounts. And so in the past 30 days. And then as you scroll down, there's so many different things that you can play with, whether it's like, like how many accounts have you reached, what type of engagement you got, how many people shared it. And I think that's really helpful to see like how you have grown over the X amount of years or like, months that you've been online. But from video to video, there will be this option to view insights. And this is only possible if you have a business account on Instagram. And so when you go into insights, it'll tell you like how many plays it's gotten, how many shares it's gotten, how many saves it's gotten. And these are all really important in boosting your content on the algorithm, especially saves and shares, because that means like, people are interested enough to save it or send it to their friends or like share it on their profile. And so having a higher number of those will only like increase your engagement and increase kind of like your visibility. And on TikTok, it's also the same thing. And I think you should also have a business profile on TikTok. Yeah. And then you would go into creator tools, and then there's an analytics portal that allows you to see, like an overview of the last 30 days, like how many accounts have you reached, how many likes, comments, and shares. And it's also the same thing with the TikTok algorithm in the terms where it's like the amount of interactions you get. So the total number of likes, shares, comments, and all that divided by the total of views you've gotten determines like, is this content going to be pushed out more? Or is it just going to kind of like stay within a little circle? And so an example of like a really good engagement would be like 10%. And you can always search online like, for an account that is typically, like that has like 10,000 followers, what's the typical engagement? Let's say it's like typically like 5% engagement, but you're performing at 8 or 9% engagement, then, like your content is going to be pushed out more and you're probably going to grow like a lot faster. So I think that's why I love analytics, because like there's numbers and it kind of like shows you like, like what I should be doing next. So
I think you made a really good point too, to check what is what like an average stat is, because some like at least for me, the average statistics of social media, like engagement and views, is so much lower than I expected. So like if anyone in that camp is like, if I don't get, 80%, like it's bad. And sometimes for certain stats, the average is like 2%. So I think it'll probably make you feel better. Like look at what is really happening, because a lot of I mean, that just there are so many people on the internet trying
Yeah.
to all vie for the same attention. So like measure against the average, not against like what you
Yourself.
think is good, because sometimes
Yeah.
those numbers are so much lower than you would think.
Yeah. And it varies from each like platform to platform too. Like I know on TikTok, I think the average engagement is a little bit higher than Instagram, but so it's like, oh yeah, like if you're always on Instagram, just be like, oh yeah, what's the industry average for an account that's like, that's like has 20,000 followers, and if you're able to kind of like niche down to like in the beauty industry, for example, and you're able to kind of see, it could tell you like, oh yeah, where you're standing and like changes that you could make, or like either changes you could make or like how you should like keep on going with like what you're doing right now.
Yeah. This is we have a few more questions. I'll just show off this like very, very easy trick that
It's
I'm
so
doing.
cute.
So this is straight up from a template I saw yesterday that I thought is adorable. It just added my photo and my little description, which I also love. Like, I think our templates are such good inspiration because I have a podcast and I have kind of run out of ideas of how to promote it. And then I was like, oh, this is great. And this little mock-up is already made for me. So I can literally just swap out the photo and don't have to like create a phone and then just change out the info for every new episode. But over here on the right, there's this animation option. And some of them are a little wild depending on like what template you use. You should really look at the animation style you're choosing, because some, depending on what you have going on, like get kind of crazy. Like Flickr, I think, is not usually for me if you have more than like 3 words. But if you use this typewriter, look how cute that is. And this is a reel now. Like, this is it. You can just download this and post it, and that's a reel. And there are so many, like this one does not work with this style, but you can also do some like photo animations. They're not, you really have to mess with it because some are better for the design you're doing than others. But typewriter for me is almost always like a winner.
And the reason why, like, I feel like, turning anything into like a video, not anything, but like trying to do something like this where it's like you're turning a static image into a reel, is because reels are being pushed in the Instagram algorithm. And so, think about little ways to like, oh yeah, how do I grow my account, and like how to be more intentional with it. Like, definitely very helpful.
Yeah, I'm gonna go through some of the other, like, because work smarter, not harder. I have a library of different like promo images that I use and templates that I use. So I'm just going to go through and like show different ways you can animate them to make them into a reel. And while I do that, I'm going to ask a few questions from the chat. So Bruce was asking if you can add a video instead of a picture here. From what I understand, you can on the mobile app. I don't know if you can on desktop. I never have, but yeah, on the mobile app, you can like add a video into a template. So you could do that. And then Janelle has a question. Are there limitations on what you can use as a business account, especially on TikTok with sounds? Do you happen to know that? I know you're not like TikTok pro. I mean, I guess you are. So yes, maybe you do know, which would be great.
So there are no limitations when it comes to the business account from what I remember. I think there's only limitations if you have sponsored posts, like sponsored ads. You can't use like certain sounds. And I think that is the limitation that it goes.
Cool.
Yeah. Unless you are like Adobe, then obviously you can't like use like trending sounds. Because
yes,
I remember working with a social team, and they're like, and any social team essentially, and they're like, oh yeah, we can't use this trending sound because like, all of that. But I think for this, like for the most part, if you are like a small business, for the most part, I don't think it would matter unless you have a sponsored post.
So Terry's asking, how are you optimizing the size for other apps? Well, I guess this is something we could talk about. For most of the social media apps, are videos the same size? Are they all 16 by 9? Okay, so that's really easy. So like TikTok, Instagram, Pinterest, YouTube Shorts are all the same ratio, right?
Well, so technically you can make like a 1-by-1 video on Instagram, for example.
Oh,
But it
that's
would
right.
still be fitted to a 16 by 9 screen. So why would you not
Right.
use a 16 by 9 screen, Because
Yeah.
it's always there everywhere else. So yeah.
And then you also can, neither of us really do this, but we know it's a strategy. Like if you're doing longer form video, like this live, for example, or if you're a Twitch streamer, or if you're doing some sort of longer horizontal video, you can clip it for shorts too. So if you're already making the content, you can cut it down into a vertical, and then you can repurpose your content that way. Bruce asks, is multiple Instagram accounts a thing yet or in the future for Express? That is on the roadmap, not here yet. Tammy is asking, what is your editing strategy? Mine is literally choosing. Well, so I'll like splice things together, and then I super bare bones. If I'm on Instagram, I'll usually just like swipe through to one of the filters. Kind of same on TikTok. They have a lot. So you can do what I do, which is just pick one. But do you have like a more intense editing strategy?
No, to be honest, I feel like my editing strategy, like if you just watch my videos, they're pretty much like just cut, cut, cut. And I think it's knowing when to cut, like which parts of like the video is like gonna be the most engaging, or like what is the vision that I see for it, and you cut for it there. I don't think I have anything like that's too intense, but maybe sometimes you want to line things up with like the audio, for example, and then you could do that like on the TikTok app or on the Instagram like Reels app. So yeah, there's nothing like too much that I can say about editing. My editing is pretty straightforward, and I think it's kind of like pretty easy.
I mean, we love easy.
Yeah.
Kath is asking, if I don't know if you have anything to add beyond what you've already said. Hi, Tuyen was curious, how do you try to create content when it comes to attracting new followers or increasing your numbers? I know we talked about analytics. Are there any other tips that you have that you haven't mentioned yet?
I think this goes back to what I said about following trends, because trends will get you visibility and it will get you virality in the sense where that will attract new audiences. But the core content of like what you make is going to retain your audience. So I think that's what I try to keep in mind, where it's like I can't constantly be making trending videos all the time, or like trending content all the time, because then it would like tear away from like my regular content, which is like, oh yeah, like I want to make videos that say where I teach people like recipes, right? And I can't constantly be making viral videos, because then I wouldn't be making recipe videos. But at least that virality piece will attract new audiences, and then it will at least like have some percentage of the people that sees the video will be like, oh yeah, click on my profile and see like what videos I make like on the daily.
Yeah, this is just like I don't think we really talked about this yet, but you can also make covers for your videos. Do you want to talk about like, do you have any strategy for that off the top of your head? I normally just kind of wing it. And like I have a brand and I have my brand kit uploaded into Adobe Express. So I'll use like the same colors and the same fonts and things. Do you have anything to add when it comes to making covers for your videos? Because I know you can in Instagram and you can for YouTube shorts too, or can you for TikTok, or do you have to pull from?
So for TikTok, the ability to create covers is very limited. You have to choose from a screen during the video itself. So you can't like make anything like this, unfortunately, but you definitely can on Instagram. So that's really helpful, because you can just go into Express and then you could make something up that's like very cohesive to like your feed and stuff. And so, yeah, I think it is really helpful if you have like a specific color or like theme that you're trying to go for. It's very, very easy on Instagram, or for Instagram at least.
And honestly, there are so many cool ways to do it. Like this, I just saw this template. I think this is super cute. And I'm just adding like pictures from, like, I would make something like this for one of the like collagey, like what am I thinking of? Not a slideshow, but like one of the reels that I make that's just like a bunch of videos
Yeah.
together. It's
It's
not a
it's kind of
slideshow.
like
I don't know.
it's kind of like a video version of like a photo dump on Instagram.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
I love that, especially because like I don't know, I post carousel
Mm-hmm.
images a lot. I know that's like
Yeah.
one of the other things that the algorithm likes.
Mm-hmm.
But doing it in a video form is fun too. So like this is,
Yeah.
yeah, this is a reel that I would make to post with something like that. And then
Yeah.
you just download it and
And
that's
then
that.
covers are also really important on like Instagram and TikTok or basically anything because if somebody is visiting your profile, you would want them to at least like be interested in like the content. So this is kind of like it's basically a thumbnail essentially, like it's like a preview. And so that's why I think covers are like very important to kind of cater to your audience and your brand.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Tuyen, for teaching us so much about video. I'm so happy you're here. You can follow Tuyen at Life with Tuyen everywhere. You can follow me at Jordan Danae Ellis, and we will be back with more videos here on Adobe Express. And you can check out the replays on the Adobe Express YouTube. But seriously, thank you so much. I appreciate everything that you have done and showed us. And yeah, if any of you have questions, feel free to come hang out with us in the Adobe Express Facebook group or on the Adobe Express YouTube. Tuyen and I are there all the time.
Yeah.
But seriously, thank you so much, Tuyen.
Yeah. And then shout out to Jordan. She's an amazing coworker and also business owner. And getting to hear like things from her perspective and like having a like real life business is also really like interesting because obviously like I'm very much on the video side. But yeah, thank you, Jordan,
Thank
for being here.
you. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. We'll see you later.